Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Got another great rookie report. It is the scouting season for the 2024 draft, everybody, and I am excited. My podcast co host and I, we're going to be grinding the film on these players for the next 4 months and doing rookie reports just like this one for just about all of the rookies that should hit our Dynasty rosters. Today, Jason and I, we're going to talk about Braelon Allen. This is a clip from our podcast. We're going to go over some stats. We're going to go over some scouting reports. We're going to go over some draft capital projections, some Dynasty projections, some player comps, all the stuff we love to do this time of year. You play Dynasty, you play Fantasy, you're looking for a YouTube channel out there. It's going to give you an in-depth look at the rookie class next year. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get to the show. All right, Jason, let's get to our first rookie report of the season, and that is Mr. Braelon Allen. All right, so we're going to go in depth here a little bit. Talk about Braelon Allen. He has officially declared for the draft. He is a true junior, 6'2", 245 pounds. He put on, I think, about 15 pounds in the offseason. Let's go through his career statistics here. You can see on the screen if you guys are watching on YouTube as well. He's got 545 rushes, 3,200 yards, 34 touchdowns. All right. So he kind of followed Jonathan Taylor. That's why everyone immediately, I think, fell in love with Allen. He was producing as a freshman, averaged 5.9 yards a tote over 3 years. 45 receptions isn't bad for 3 years. Scored 0 touchdowns catching the ball for 3 years, which is kind of interesting. Had 9 recorded fumbles on the season, so ball security could be an issue. He had 4 in 2023. You're going to see some PFF stats here. These are the 3 stats that I really kind of look at: the rushing grade, the yards after contact, and the elusive rating. You can see the graph here. Guys listening on the podcast, feel free. We're going to put this on YouTube, so you're going to be able to see this as well and go and take a look at the imagery that we're looking at here on our show sheet. Yards after contact ranked 41st with 682 yards, and missed tackles 4th, tied for 46 for 49. Any of those PFF stats kind of anything stick out to you there?
And not necessarily. I think the 0 touchdowns as a receiver is definitely something that stands out to me. But then I looked at the average depth of target for him, and it's negative 2.4. So it's all at the line or something like that, which makes a lot more sense.
Okay, so it sounds like he's not going to be a pass catcher in our finest Dynasty fantasy teams. But I think, listen, I've seen the guy look for the ball and catch the ball. He seems pretty.
Yeah,
he's got natural hands. I mean, again, maybe he's just not used in that capacity. I think that's kind of the general rule. So we'd like to talk about the translatable traits. So I'm going to let you kick it off. We're going to talk about 4 kind of traits that we think are, this is like a scouting report on Allen, what we've seen. You and I have watched a lot of film over the last 2 years on Allen. So I think we've got a really good feel for his game. So we're going to talk about 4 traits that we think are translatable. And then we're going to talk about a couple things that might prevent him from maybe getting that draft stock that we're going to talk about here very shortly. So talk about the traits that you think are in favor of Allen, hitting our Dynasty rosters.
I think it all starts with the size and the functional strength. Just the the primary running back role that he could be that guy in the backfield to go up the middle. I think he's got enough burst to get to the edge, but I do like the fact that he lowers his pads. He has good contact balance, keeps his legs moving through contact. Sometimes can go down a little bit too easy when he's tackled below the knees. He'll have to kind of work on that a little bit, but I do like the tenacity. It's hard to find running backs that can get between the tackles the way that he does. And honestly, he could do it pretty easily just based on his pure size alone and that forward momentum. And that's another thing too. I like the fact that he keeps his legs turning through contact and he has that lower pad level between the tackles. That's the one part where I feel like he is going to have opportunity to see the field more often in roles where they're on 3rd down or even on the goal line. So I like him as a red zone threat as a running back at the goal line too.
Yeah, maybe we saw that functional strength a little bit more in 2023, because I remember when you and I watched his film in 2022 together, we were talking about, for a guy that had that size and mass, he was getting stood up a little bit and pushed back more than we had liked to see. So I like the fact that you bring that to the table, that maybe he increased that. I think one of the things that's going to make him translatable, like you had mentioned, his size. I think he's going to be a workhorse back. I think a team who drafts Allen is going to be looking at a guy who could potentially just be on the field for all three downs. I think he has the ability to catch the ball, even if he doesn't. I can't say that I've really
Mm.
scouted his pass pro. Do you have anything to say on his pass pro? Because I know that
See, yeah.
that prevents a lot of guys, a lot of players from getting on the field as the pass pro. And it doesn't matter how big you are, because Blake Corum, I think, is pretty tough when it comes to a much smaller guy, tough, in the pass pro. But I don't know what kind of Allen pass pro is. Have you watched him at all in that capacity?
Watched a couple of games where I was trying to see how he didn't pass pro, and honestly, he whiffed on a couple assignments. But
Hmm.
that's normal. I think with
Yeah,
his
yeah.
size, it's going to be the coaching staff just getting him coached up with the right technique and the awareness.
Yeah. And I also agree with you with traits too, is, his yards after contact ability, that strong lower
Mhm.
half is, the contact balance kind of coincides the yards after contact. You can see, on the PFF grade there, it was above the, 2/3 of all the college football players. That's what, all those stats on the screen there show you is,
Right.
where he is relative to the rest of the college football running backs that played in 2023. So if we're going to talk about translatable traits in his scouting report on traits that may prevent him from being that consistent dynasty asset that we're looking for, the thing that to me that has me concerned about Braelon Allen is just his stiffness. I think he's got good footwork and change of direction ability a little bit, but I
Mhm.
don't think it's going to be super dynamic enough to escape NFL, DB, linemen and linebackers, and his hip stiffness to me sometimes is a little concerning.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. It's also the high speed change of direction once he's into the
Hmm.
second level. There's no elusive moves that he makes in order to evade those. He's going to have to use his physical strength. But for me, it's also his vision. I think he would actually be much faster with his change of direction if the synergy between what he's seeing on the field, that reaction time with his feet, was in perfect balance, and it's not. I've seen him run into the back of his offensive lineman, take the wrong gap assignment.
Hmm.
I think he just gets the ball and just runs, and he relies purely on his strength and just tenacity to get as many yards as possible. To me, that is a guy that's not going to last very long in the NFL if that's the case. So I'm hoping that he gets with the right team that can coach him up on that vision and just understanding what he needs to see on the field.
Yeah, and at 20 years old, I think a lot of people are excited about the youth that he brings to the table. It's something that we definitely need to
100%,
mention.
which is why
So
the development is going to be so much better for a guy who's young.
yeah, and he has, the opportunity to continue to get better as being drafted. I think he's going to be 20 when he is drafted, and that's certainly pretty young. So I
Mhm.
think that a lot of people get excited about that. And I think the one thing we mentioned before, the fumbles. I mean, the ball security, I think, is something. He had 4 fumbles this year. So that's something that he's going
Right.
to have to kind of clean up, because there's a lot of coaches out there, they're not going to tolerate you putting the ball on the ground on the NFL. So let's talk about
Yeah.
his
I think we
draft.
have the same thing with Jonathan Taylor though too, right? So
Yeah,
maybe it
yeah.
won't be as much of an issue. Who knows?
Yeah, so you can get coached up on that and get better with that as you get stronger and get in the NFL, training program. So let's talk about the draft capital and the dynasty projections. All right, so I see him as a second or third round. Do you see him as a day two guy, or do you see him slipping? He's up there higher than I think what you and I feel that he should be right now. Trending in the NFL draft, he's trending to he's trending rising right now. And again, we're in middle of
Yeah.
December before Christmas, so these are early projections that we're talking.
Yeah, I understand where everybody's excited about him. I personally see him more in that Jordan Howard range of 4th or 5th round, just because I just don't think he has the explosiveness and all the other things that would make him a second or a day 1 or day 2 player.
Okay, all right, I like it. Do you believe he's a second round rookie pick?
I do, based on what he could possibly bring to the table.
Yeah, well, I think that'll really depend. It's so hard to judge where they'd be rookie, because draft capital plays such a role. He gets,
It
early,
does.
round 3 draft capital and a juicy landing spot. He's going to vault up there. If he's a day 4, late day 4, early day 5 guy, like you said, then he might, sneak into the 3rd round. So we're going to do dynasty value comps on here to talk about. And again, this isn't comparing, for me anyway, it's not comparing players' skill set, how they win on the field. This is more of their trajectory as a dynasty asset and what we think that that is going to come and look like. And I kind of chose Najee Harris because I think he is going to get a little better draft capital than than maybe you and I think that he's going to get. And
Mhm.
I think he could come out of the gate, but then I think what's going to happen is the NFL is going to look at it and be like, okay, well, do we really want this big guy who maybe doesn't have the elusiveness, who doesn't have that, where maybe then he's, complemented by I'm thinking of that situation in Pittsburgh where then they put Jalen Warren in there. They're looking for that other explosive piece. So I could see people getting excited about Najee Harris, but maybe then he kind of fades over time if he doesn't develop those skills that you and I are looking for him to develop.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying with Najee. It makes total sense. I have LeGarrette Blount down, and it's more so the path. I think that he could be very good as a primary back in his first couple years,
Right.
and then kind of fall off because it's his skill set to me is just not sustainable unless the athleticism improves along with the vision and
Mhm.
everything else. So the LeGarrette Blount is kind of the comp that I saw with the path and the size and physical strength.
Definitely the size. And Najee Harris is one of the bigger running backs, outside of King Henry. There's not a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of running backs that are over 235 pounds in the NFL right now. And this guy's packing on a pounds of, 245. So it's going to be one of the bigger backs. So you're talking about that
Yeah.
athleticism. So I have him ranked number 4 in the 2024 draft class right now. You have a much different ranking for him. Where do you have him ranked
I
right
Yeah, he's number 10 for me.
now? Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah.
All right. So
I
we
just
got a
don't
little.
see a ton of upside, and I think that's what's holding me back.
All right. I like it. So there you guys go. There is our rookie report on Braelon Allen.